Welcome to the New York Business Leaders Podcast, presented by the Coyle Group. We interview the most interesting and influential business leaders in New York and hear their stories of success, challenges, and lessons learned while building their businesses and personal brands. New episodes drop weekly, so please be sure to subscribe to get updates in your favorite stream. Without further delay, here's your host of the New York Business Leaders Podcast, Gordon Coyle.
Welcome back to the show. Today's episode is going to be a little longer than usual, but I think you'll really appreciate this conversation I had with Joe Apfelbaum about a month ago. For anyone in the networking scene in and around New York, you probably already know Joe. He's a friend, a client, and a valuable networking connection of mine, and he owns two companies we're going to discuss here. The first, Ajax Union, is a digital marketing agency focused on building marketing funnels and tools for mid-market firms looking to nurture inbound business opportunities. His second company is Evergreen, which is a LinkedIn training platform that helps people learn how to leverage the power of LinkedIn to build their networks and their business. This is probably going to be the only podcast of mine where a guest raps a few entertaining beats to me. Joe is a real business philosopher and thinker, and you're going to hear many key phrases and ideas throughout this episode focused on success, strategy, growth, and focus. Joe's contact info will appear in the show notes and description on YouTube, as will be a link to his marketing one-sheet he mentions during our conversation. I'd encourage you to connect with Joe on LinkedIn so you can see, learn, and participate in his ongoing postings and dialogue. He's very active on the platform and very interesting as well. Before we get into that conversation, please click that like button on YouTube and give this podcast a 5-star rating so others can find this valuable content. Finally, if you have an interesting story you'd like to tell and would like to be on this podcast, drop me an email and let's set up some time to chat. My email is gbcoyle@thecoylegroup.com. That'll appear in the show notes, and let's connect. Now, on to the show. Hey everyone, I'm Gordon Coyle. Welcome to the New York Business Leaders Podcast. Today, I'm joined by a good friend, Joe Apfelbaum, who is, I don't even know if I have words to describe Joe Apfelbaum. I've known Joe for probably 10 years, and he's a client of mine. I'm a client of his. We've had some great times together. We've had some deep conversations. He's a great thinker, a great person, great networker, great New Yorker. And I'm really happy to have you on the show, Joe.
So excited to be here. I always love spending time with you. From the first day that I met you at a networking event, just kind of getting to know you and some of our mutual connections like JP. And I realized that not every networker was created equal. I believe every human is created equal, but some people are more invested in networking and some people are less. And I really value your level of depth that you get into with people that are your clients or that you're networking with or business professionals. You pay a lot of attention to detail. So I do appreciate this. And thank you for having me on the program.
Thank you, Joe. Excellent. Why don't you take a second or two, introduce yourself, talk about your businesses and who you are.
All right, let's do it.
Yo, my name is Joe. I'm the master flow. Here we go. Let me tell you about Ajax Union. Let me tell you about Evergreen. These are two companies, the best you've ever seen. My name is Joe, and I'm going to show you how to grow. I'm going to show you what I got in store for you because I got mojo, baby. Mojo, that's what I do.
Okay, so Ajax Union.
You're killing me already. You're killing me. This is great.
Ajax Union is a digital marketing agency, and we build marketing funnels for B2B companies. What that means is most companies, you go to their website and they try to get a demo, they try to get you to buy. What we tell you is that 90% of the people that are coming to your website are not ready to buy right now. So you got to nurture them, especially when you're business to business, like you're doing commercial insurance. You want to educate people and take them through a process, through a funnel. Just like when you're meeting somebody for the first time, you're not going to sell them right away at a networking event. You're going to build a relationship with them, get to know what makes them tick, build some trust. Same thing, you need to have the right strategy because the right strategy will save you a decade. So we build those strategies for B2B companies, and we create a marketing funnel, which includes lead magnets, email automations, landing pages, and then we send traffic through search engines and social media and email marketing to that funnel, which ends up giving clients a better ROI on their marketing. Because if you're just sending cold traffic to a wall, everyone's just going to bounce. That's why bounce rates are really high. But our clients typically see a much lower bounce rate because people get into your funnel and now you're able to retarget them. You're able to email them. You're able to connect with them and nurture them. And that's how business is made. You don't hatch an egg by taking a hammer and smashing it. You hatch an egg by sitting on it with warmth and nurturing the egg. So we help you nurture your clients so that you get a lot of chicks running around and squawking and having a good time and having more chicks and more chicks and more chicks, which hopefully will fill up the whole hen house. So that's what we do at Ajax. And at Evergreen, we teach people how to leverage LinkedIn. We help hungry entrepreneurs go from frustration to motivation, a personal mission of mine, a passion of mine. And most people are on LinkedIn and they're just lurking. And we know that lurking doesn't produce revenue. Instead, you could be influencing other people to refer business to you, to have conversations with you, to use you as a client, as a provider, as a vendor. And so what we want to do is we want to educate you what is the right strategy. So we have a course and a coaching program where we walk people through the step-by-step process that they need to take in order to be more successful on LinkedIn, the world's largest professional social network. And so those are the two companies side by side. Ajax Union, we've had for 13 years, serviced over 1,100 companies. And we're very focused on business to business these days. We have a really great presentation on ajaxunion.com that people can watch. It's 20 minutes on how the marketing funnel works. I also published a book called High Energy Marketing, which walks people through how that works. And you can find that on Amazon by searching my name, Joe Apfelbaum, on Amazon. And then, of course, walking people through the right strategy really changes lives. You know this, Gordon, when it comes to networking, you can walk into an event like a life insurance broker and just hand everybody your business card and hope that somebody needs a policy. Or you can have a little class. You could walk in, feel people's energies, see who you want to connect with, go deep with 2 or 3 people, and that turns into real business. And the same thing on LinkedIn. Learning how to do that correctly will change your life. So the name of our company is called Evergreen. Some people say, Joe, how do you spell Evergreen? It's not E-V-E-R, it's E-V-Y-R green, EVYRGREEN.com. And the reason we put the Y in there is because evergreen.com was not available. And also, why not? Some people are like, but it looks like evergreen. It's not evergreen, it's evergreen. The things that we teach you, you'll have forever. That's why it's evergreen. And green is also my favorite color, in case you didn't know. Now you know, I like the green. I like leaves. I like trees. I like fresh, fresh beets. Like, for example, I'll put on, yo, I got my fresh beets, got my meats, got to bring up the heat in this rap rodeo. Me and Gordon Coyle, we got the best boil, we got the toil, cause we work really hard and we got the grit. I'm fit cause I climbed the mountain with Gordon. We're climbing, he's a climber. I remember I told Gordon, I want to climb like you. He bought me a carabiner. I still have that carabiner. I was like, you can't use the ones from Walmart that cost $3? He's like, no, don't use that to climb. You will die. You need the right tool.
All right. So the listeners and the viewers are already kind of like mesmerized here because this is the first time. This is episode probably like 16 or 17. And obviously the first time anybody's come on with music and done a rap right off the cuff. So kudos to you, Joe. And I wouldn't have expected anything less than that. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I'm really passionate about speaking to business owners, entrepreneurs, professionals that really want to up their game to the next level, particularly CEOs that have been on the Inc. 5000. We've been on the Inc. 5000 as one of the fastest growing companies in America. And that doesn't just happen by luck. You don't just get lucky and build your company to $1 million in revenue and then 2 million and then 4 million and then 8 million. That doesn't just happen to companies. That's something that takes a lot of hard work, but also strategy, because energy without strategy is a total waste of time. You could be spinning your wheels. I don't know if you know this, Gordon, but there's a statistic that 96% of business owners, their business generates less than $1 million in revenue in the United States. There are 32 million businesses in the United States. Most of them, 96%, are doing less than $1 million in revenue. And the question is why? Why are such few businesses are not doing what my business and your business is doing? And the answer is they lack strategy. It isn't luck. I put up a poll on LinkedIn asking, is it luck or is it strategy to be one of the fastest growing companies in America? And a lot of people think it's luck, but I'm telling you right now, I've done it. It's not luck. I've also watched my mother try to build her business. My mother's my inspiration for for being an entrepreneur in general. I watched her for 10 years trying to build her business, and eventually she went out of business. And probably because she didn't have the right insurance policy, which I'll tell you at a different time why that is. But by the way, guys, speak to Gordon if you need insurance. He's my vendor, and he is literally the best provider of business insurance that I've ever worked with in the past. And I've worked with many companies in the past. He has a process down. He has the right team. When we have a question, he answers correctly right away. He knows exactly how to protect us. And so thank you, making sure you're not overinsured and you're not underinsured. So thank you, Gordon, for being excellent. But it really takes the right strategy and the right process in order for you to achieve anything, whether you want to launch a book and make it successful. I've launched several books, or whether you want to lose weight. I've lost 95 pounds and I've kept it off mostly. I mean, during the pandemic and during my divorce, things were pretty complicated. So I put on a little bit, but I know exactly the step-by-step process and the strategy to be able to get where I want to be and to keep it off. And so if you want a better relationship, if you want better health, or if you want to have a better business, it all boils down to three things. Number one, awareness, knowing where you are, because if you can't see your blind spots, you can't read the label. If you're inside the jar, you just don't know. You can't see. You don't know what you don't know. You can't see it. So you got to have a right coach, the right book, someone to make you see things that you can't see. Then you need the right strategy, and then you need to take action. You need to have accountability. So if you have those three things, you can truly, truly be successful and accomplish anything that you want. So Gordon, thanks again for having me.
That's great, Joe. I appreciate the insight there. You mentioned a couple of things that I just want to kind of circle back to. At Ajax, can you tell us who the typical client is? You know, you said it's a B2B sale, of course, when building these funnels and the landing pages and the magnets and all of that. Who is the typical client that you're looking for at Ajax?
When we started our business, we were focused on basically anything that moves. And
Right.
We didn't do very well. We were just basically targeting everybody and anybody, and we weren't doing that well. We weren't really growing, and we were offering them everything. What I realized is that where focus goes, energy flows, which means you need to really zero in on a type of client that you want. Right now, we're focused on companies that are 5 to 500 million in annual revenue. So they're bigger than the average small business. They have a marketing director in-house. We love CEOs, but working with CEOs, my team doesn't really necessarily, they don't show up to meetings. They're super ADD. They're all over the place. So you need to have a point person in order for us to move projects forward, because you need to approve things and you need to show up to meetings, things like that, things that CEOs typically are not great at. And so you need to have like a marketing director, and to afford a marketing director, typically your business needs to be doing a few million in revenue minimum. And many of our clients are doing 400 million in revenue. Some of them are doing 10. Some of them might be, we'll have a client that might be 2 or 3 and they want to get to 30 and they're investing heavily. So those can be ideal as well. But typically, and that's the range. We don't work with companies all over the world. We focus mostly with companies that are operating in the US. We do have an Australian publicly traded company, but they do have a division in the US that they're growing, and that's why they hired us. So mostly in the US. And then we're looking for companies that are high growth. They're not just looking to be stagnant or sit around. They're companies that actually want to grow. There are 3 things that companies want. They want to make money, they want to save money, or they want to eliminate risk. And depends on where you are on the business scale. If you're a multi-billion-dollar business, you probably just want to eliminate risk because you're already making tons of money. Just money makes money. If you're a business that's maybe, under $1 billion, but over 500 million, maybe you want to save money, because just saving a few dollars can make a big impact in your bottom line. But if you're a business that's doing 25 million in revenue, you probably want to make money. You probably want to grow. You want to get to the next level, because especially if your products, or even if your services, you probably have a lot of expenses, and what got you here is not going to get you there. So having the right marketing strategy is really going to help you, and having a funnel will help you have more conversions. And so that's kind of like what we specialize in. Companies that have a high value for their clients spend quite a bit with them. Some of our clients have companies that will spend a few $100,000 with them, like logistics companies and so on. So thinking about companies that, number 1, are B2B, number 2, are in the US, they have a marketing director, they're over a certain revenue level, and they have a high lifetime value of a customer, it's worth it for them to invest in a long-term marketing funnel, because that's what's going to help be able to get a higher ROI on their spend with advertising.
So it's not necessarily a particular vertical, it's what your clients' customers are spending for the product or service.
Correct. Yes. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's, often going to be manufacturing. Often it's going to be professional services. It might be a law firm. It might be an engineering firm. It might be someone who has e-commerce. Sometimes it's going to be a high value B2C client as well. Like, for example, we had someone that had a bunch of locations that does dog babysitting. I don't know if you guys know this concept of dog babysitting, but dogs, people have work and they have to drop their dogs off somewhere. And typically they'll spend $5,000 to $10,000 a year on dog care, whether it's grooming, whether it's just, sitting the dog, watching the dog, training the dog. And so for them to acquire a customer, initially they didn't have a funnel, but we built out a whole marketing funnel. So this works with B2C too, but we'd rather work with B2B because that's most of the companies that have a high value product, companies like MakerBot, companies that produce 3D printers, that companies like that provide services to the hospitality or to the real estate industry, companies that manufacture vending machines or that manufacture medical supplies, engineering firms. So, law firms that are B2B. There's a lot of consumer law firms that are personal injury. Those are not the most ideal for us. Mm-hmm. More like immigration law firms and things like that. Those are great. So yeah, that's what we're focused on. And we've seen a lot of success with those types of companies because they have a high value of a customer. They get one customer, it's worth it for them. The whole campaign is worth it.
Right. And would you say that most of these clients that are coming to you on the Ajax Union side of it, are they already engaged in digital marketing? They're not really neophytes in digital. They've got to already have their feet wet in order to kind of get to the next level of what you're providing.
Yeah, they usually have a marketing director in-house. And because they have a marketing director in-house, or they know they need to hire one, so they come to us and we get them started and they know they need to hire one. They have to have a budget, like they have to be able to say, I'm willing to make an investment. If they're like, I don't have a budget. Tell me what I should spend and I can spend anything. That's not the most ideal for us. We do work sometimes with people like that, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for companies that have a marketing director. They know they have a need. They just need a competent agency that has systems and processes that can come in, set up the right strategy, set up the right technology, set up the right assets that's on brand, make sure that they're doing the right things on search, social, and email, and that things are going appropriately. And we'll give you an ROI, definitely give you an ROI. Some customers see an ROI in the first few weeks of working with us. Some customers, it takes a little bit longer. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like, do you understand what your marketing is doing for you? And if you don't, let's have a conversation, because we're passionate about building your business, not just doing SEO, not just doing PPC, not just doing email for the sake of doing email because you want to do it, or that that you need to do it, doing it because it actually produces a result in your business. And we want to show you how you can see that result through actual metrics. And that's what we specialize in. Our competitive advantage is that we not only understand marketing, we're experts, been doing it for over a decade, but we also understand business. We're business experts. And often we give business strategy to our clients because we really understand how marketing impacts business. And that's really our competitive advantage. Our second competitive advantage is that we get things done. A lot of marketing agencies have a lot of great ideas, and they come up with ideas and write them all down. We're much more about taking action. We're big fans of David Allen's book, Getting Things Done. It's a mandatory reading at our agency. And we also make sure our clients read it because we want things to move. We want traction. We're big fans of EOS, a book called Traction. Mm-hmm. So we want things to move. And by having the right key performance indicators, the right technology, will help you be able to take your business to a whole new level.
Got it. Great stuff. And it's funny you should say taking action. On my whiteboard on the wall next to me, I've got, and this is after a conversation with a buddy of mine, it's 100% about execution, not just having good ideas.
Yes, it's not just having good ideas, it's about execution, but it has to be on strategy. Otherwise, energy without strategy is just a waste of time. So that's really powerful. And one of the things that I'm very passionate about, I know you're passionate about too, is networking. And using a certain networking approach and having marketing support your networking efforts. For example, one of the things that we do for our clients is we provide them with a networking one sheet. What does that mean? It That means on a glance, I can see who is going to be the best center of influence for me, my elevator pitch, how to introduce me, the top skills that I have in my company, and so on. And then, of course, your contact information and your photo, and that's on brand. I posted one of those on my LinkedIn profile. So if you go to my LinkedIn profile, joelinkedin.com, and you look at my recent posts, you'll see I posted there, often, but I just posted it yesterday. So you can go check out that post that has my networking one sheet. And you'll see that I have thousands of people that have viewed that networking one sheet. And we provide that also to our clients because I believe that the best customers come from networking. But by using marketing to stay top of mind, people are actually going to remember you.
Great point. And just for the listeners and viewers, while we're recording this on October 15th, it probably won't show up for a couple of weeks because Joe's in the queue to be released sometime in November. So you're going to have to scroll back through his LinkedIn feed, which probably means a lot of scrolling because Joe posts a lot on LinkedIn. Although you have kind of pumped the brakes a little bit from maybe a year ago when I think you were just being a maniac, posting 3 or 4 times a day. Maybe it was 2 years ago.
I used to post a lot more. I used to post 3 or 4 times a day, but now I post once a day, minimum once a day. That's my goal. And the reason I do that is because I'm spending a lot more time on other platforms. And, I'm using Instagram stories and I'm spending time on other platforms and doing other things. And also my personal life has gotten really busy with all the personal things going on due to COVID and everything else that's going on. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of slow down how often I post. And my recommendation is post at least once a week. But if you have the bandwidth, do it 2 or 3 times or 4 times a week. And the reason I tell people to do that is because 40% of LinkedIn users log in every day. And when people log in, they go to their feed. And there's, out of the 741 million people that are on LinkedIn, there's only 1 million posts going up a day. And most of them are coming from me, as you know.
Well, I thought you said 741 million members. I thought they were all connections of yours.
Yeah, no, the limit on connections on Facebook is 5,000. The limit on connections on LinkedIn is 30,000. So you can have up to 30,000 connections. And now they have a weekly connection limit that they implemented. But we have ways to get around that. So the goal is for you to connect with people strategically on LinkedIn, not just to connect for the sake of connecting.
Right.
But if you want, you can include that one sheet inside the show notes. And if they go to your website and go to the show notes, they'll easily be able to find the post with the one sheet. And also, if you do go through my profile and you click on all activity and you click on posts, you'll probably enjoy looking through some of my previous posts because I do put a lot of time and effort and energy into each post. I don't just post for the sake of posting. I post so that I can add value and make a difference in people's lives. So whether I'm posting a poll or a video or a document or an image or even text only, you'll kind of get an idea of the flavor and the things that I'm posting about. So if you're listening to this, definitely go ahead and send me a connection request on LinkedIn and let me know that you saw me on Gordon's podcast.
That's great, Joe. Thank you. And I would agree that a lot of the stuff that you are putting out on social is value-based. Maybe you can give us a little commentary on how social can support your networking activities and vice versa. Kind of like what you just did here.
Yeah. So one of the most important things to be successful at networking, and you know this, Gordon, is to show up. 95% of getting the job is showing up. And most people show up and throw up. I say instead of showing up and throwing up, show up and follow up. And following up could be messaging, emailing, calling, showing up to the next event. But the key is to stay top of mind. There are many ways to stay top of mind because people won't remember you. People thinking about themselves, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? So instead of worrying about making sure that people don't forget you, just stay top of mind by adding value to them. Show them what's in it for them and add value to them. Send an email out. I send out an email every single week for the past 5 years. Make sure that you're on LinkedIn and that you're posting and that you're commenting on other people's stuff. Make sure that you're direct messaging, invite people to things. And if you're not, I'm constantly messaging Gordon Coyle, and I'm constantly messaging other people in my group. I'm constantly connecting with people and mentioning them. And people see me. And when they see me, they recommend me. I just got a recommendation to a pretty big company in the insurance space. And the reason I got that recommendation is because they see me on social media all the time, including LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and so on. And I asked them, I said, hey, what made you think of me? They said, what do you mean, what made you think of me? I can't stop thinking of you. I was like,
That's a
in which
stupid
way?
question.
Like, what do you mean?
We're always thinking
Yeah.
about Joe Apfelbaum.
Thank you. But if you do log into LinkedIn, you'll probably see me, if not every day, every other day, or every week. And that's my goal. My goal is for people to remember me and also for me to add value to them. So people don't just see me and are like, oh, there's another Joe, so annoying. No, they say, wow, there's Joe. Like, look how impressive that post was, or what he shared about that person, or the 4 types of marriages, or whatever it is I share about. People really appreciate it and they get value from it because I myself get value from reading my own stuff. And I'm looking for people that are like me, that are networking friendly, that are kind, that are loving, that are approachable, that are not like stuck up. There was a guy who recently left me a comment on my post. I posted about my trip to Florida. I don't know if you know this, Gordon, but I was trying to get to Florida and with my 5 kids, and it was the first time I was ever traveling with my 5 kids alone because I'm no longer married. So I'm flying with my 5 kids alone. And it's, I have a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old, and they're freaking out. Anyway, so I take them to the airport. We stack up everything. We're ready for a beautiful 3-hour trip, right? We get to the airport. Everything's perfect. We get on the plane. We're first on the plane because I have status with the airline because I fly a lot. They make us sit on the runway for 2.5 hours. And my kids are watching videos, so they think that the plane is flying because they're watching on the entertainment system. All of a sudden, they take us back to the gate and they're like, yay, we're in Florida. I'm like, no, we're actually not. We're still in Newark, New Jersey. And they're freaking out. They're like, what? We didn't get to Florida yet. And they don't give my daughter her stroller. So she's rolling around in the airport. My son gets vomit on his pants. The other one has diarrhea. They're throwing a fit. And then they're like, all right, well, just wait here. We'll get you your stroller. Turns out they don't get us our stroller. Instead, they're like, get back on the plane. We're going to go now. So we all wait. After waiting an hour by the gate, they get us back on the plane. And then they make us wait another hour on the plane, and then they kick us off the plane again. It was like a whole ordeal. And they said, we can't fly. So I wrote about this on LinkedIn. This is my experience. On Sundays, I write personal things sometimes. Not like sharing my salad, but a lesson I learned, right? And, some guy left me a really long comment explaining how terrible it is that I have typos in my post. And he said all this stuff. And, I must have gotten 100 people that contacted me and said, Joe, just ignore that guy. There's something wrong. Yeah. There's obviously something very wrong with that guy. You triggered something in him. You're doing amazing. I love the post. Thank you so much. And people even responded to that post and they told the guy off. They're like, what are you doing? We have nothing better to do. Because the guy literally said the following. He said, Joe, I will never refer business to you and I'm disconnecting from you. I don't want to be connected to you on what? Why? What did I do wrong? I shared my story about me and my 5 kids. He's like, that's for Facebook. I didn't argue with him. I said, thank you for the lesson. I appreciate it. I'm going to take into consideration. And I explained to him what I was thinking and why I did it. Anyway, I used to be afraid that people would leave negative comments. And that's why I never even posted at all. I never existed. If you want to be nobody, don't post anything. Don't share anything. Nobody's going to notice you and you're going to amount to nothing. But instead, if you want to be something, take a risk. Patrick Kennedy once said, he's a famous marketer. He said, if you haven't upset anybody by 12 p.m., you're not marketing hard enough. There's always somebody that's going to get upset. So many people get upset when I reach out and they're like, why are you calling me? Why are you messaging me? What's wrong with you? And I just sit there and I'm like, wow, I must have triggered a nerve there. Wow.
Yeah.
That's not someone I want to do business with, right?
It's an interesting kind of conversation around, and I think a lot of younger, especially people in sales that are, putting themselves out there, they're very concerned about what other people think, how are other people going to react. And I think that's a good lesson that you kind of just talked about that. It's not about having thick skin. It's just about putting things in perspective. If you want to be your own person, you just have to put yourself out there. I know I struggled with it when I was younger. as I got older, I just kind of feel like, you know what, I don't really care. You know, if you've got an opinion about the way I do something, or you don't like the way I did it, that's fine. That's your opinion. But it's not going to deter me from doing the thing I want to do. And
Yeah,
I think
I always say the following saying: other people's opinions are none of your business. Nanya,
Very good.
none of your business.
Yeah, yeah. And right before we got started recording the call, you mentioned that you're done with a book, you've got a new book, or what's going on there?
So by the time this podcast come out, I'm going to be coming out with a book for my birthday called High Energy Networking. And I know you're very passionate about networking in general, and you're a big networker, Gordon. That's probably why you do these podcasts and network with your guests. For me, networking has been a very big passion of mine. It's one of my roles in life, to be a networker and to be of service to the people in my network. And so I wrote down 30,000 words of what networking means to me and how to be able to get anything you want in your life or in your business around networking. And I cover some really interesting topics in the book that a lot of people have questions about, like ideas around how to be able to properly network, how to get over your fear of networking. I talk about the first time I walked into a networking event and how I was petrified and wanted to run away and how I did it all wrong. Talking about how networking can bring up trauma from the past, and why would someone successfully even want to help you, or the fastest way to generate business from networking, or what is the mindset of a connector, or just how to receive as a person that's networking, because people are often want to give, but they're afraid to receive, or the difference between networking, prospecting, and sales, or how to make networking fun. I even include the 10 commandments of professional networking. And I also give some tips on how to connect on LinkedIn and how to build a transformational relationship. I talk about how to listen and how to ask questions, and how asking for advice allows you to get paid twice. A famous line. I also include the 700 categories of people who are in networking groups, that are in BNI groups and so on, the benefits of sending a weekly newsletter, and how to host your own networking event and invite all your relationships. I talk about so many incredible things. And so this book has been really, really near and dear to my heart, and I'm really excited about launching it. I've launched many other books in the past several years, often around my birthday. But this one I'm really excited about. It's 36,000 words and over 200,000 characters. I'm excited.
Not to be too specific about it. and where is this going to be published?
On Amazon. So if you just search my name on Amazon, Joe Apfelbaum, you'll be able to see all my books, including High Energy's Purpose, High Energy Networking, High Energy Secrets about how I lost weight, High Energy Answers for Kids, and so on. There are quite a few books there on Amazon that I published over the past several years.
And if the listeners and audience can't tell, Joe Apfelbaum is a high energy person.
Yes, that's why I have the High Energy brand. So if you just search Joe Apfelbaum on Amazon, or you go Google Joe Apfelbaum books, you will find all my books there really easily.
That's great. Very good. Excuse me. So we've talked about networking. We've talked about your two companies. The other thing I just want to kind of put in there is that I did the whole Evergreen LinkedIn course. Thought it was phenomenal. I had already done 2 LinkedIn courses before taking Joe's classes. It was all done at your own pace. He's got, workbooks and recordings and everything. It's very professionally done. And after I got done with that, I was like, this blows the doors off any other LinkedIn training I've ever done. It's a very practical approach. And I just jotted down one of the key phrases that I think you use a lot when you talk about LinkedIn, and it's going from lurker to influencer. And I think everybody who uses LinkedIn or who wants to use LinkedIn effectively, they're not sure how to break free of that lurker status and how to get to that influencer status. And I've had, my fits and starts with LinkedIn, and, my attention, like yours, gets diverted at times, but it is a powerful way to get business and stay top of mind with your network. And my business has grown predominantly through inbound business that we do, online, but the lion's share of business that we work on every day is from referrals, from trusted sources, from people who know me, who know I do a good job, who are connected to me on LinkedIn, who see me on a regular basis, who comment on my posts, all the kinds of things that Joe and Evergreen Networking talks about. So if you haven't checked that out, I'm going to put that in the show notes as well. If you've wondered how to maximize your ROI, the time that you spend on LinkedIn, I highly recommend this class. It's just, I think it's well done. It's not too much. It's not overkill. And it leads you through the steps and processes that most people just don't understand. In fact, I'm going to have to go back and refresh myself on some of those classes just to kind of get myself going again on a more full-time basis on LinkedIn.
And we do offer lifetime access to those classes. So once you invest, we have a one-time fee. You invest in the course and the coaching program, you get lifetime access to that. So definitely highly recommended for people who want to have more conversations with their ideal target market or their ideal target client, and people who want to have more exposure. So that's a really great resource for people who want. Not everybody wants to network. Believe it or not, Gordon, I don't know if you know this, but 90% of people are afraid of networking.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah. Networking is a form of public speaking too. So it's like you're putting yourself out there and people are afraid of rejection. And so it's just very difficult for people to kind of get past the idea of rejection. So, for me, it had to do with a lot of personal development, like developing myself as a human being and becoming a more effective human being. They say you can only grow your business as much as you grow yourself. And I was very limited in my personal growth 20 years ago when I was just barely learning how to do web design. And I was certainly afraid of reaching out to strangers to network with them. Like, how can I add value? Like on social media, connect to people? Hell no, I can't. I was afraid of putting my photo on social media 10 years ago. So things have changed a lot since I became a certified Google trainer and I learned how to put myself out there. I always desired it. I always watched other people and I was like, how do they do it? It must be natural. And it's not. I'm not born with it. I was born very, very shy. So I had to overcome that fear, and you can overcome it too. Preparation cures fear, and learning the right skills that you need to have will help you overcome that. And Gordon, your videos are excellent on YouTube. I watch you on YouTube and on LinkedIn and all over the place. And thank you for the beautiful testimonial that you have for our course. And yeah, you're just an awesome dude. And I'm so glad that I get to chat with you here. One of the things that fear does to us as human beings is it makes us freeze. There's the fight, there's the flight, or there's the freeze. The fight means, you're getting ready to fight to survive. The flight means you're going to run away like a deer. But before the deer runs away, it makes sure to pause in the middle of the road for long enough for you to get into an accident. And stop like a deer in the headlights. You ever someone says something to you shocking and you don't even know what to answer and you're just frozen?
Yep.
That's what happens. If a bear comes at you, you might just freeze and you'll survive. If you just lay like a little kid on the ground and you're just like that, the bear is going to kind of toy with you and run away. But if you fight the bear, then be careful because, you don't want to fight with the bear. The bear is pretty strong. So my point is that frozen thing of us having paralysis of analysis makes us just have fear. And what fear tends to do with us in our level, like fear of someone knocking our ego, it shows up as excuses. Excuses. Here's a famous thing that I always love saying. You either have reasons or you have results. Those are the two things. You either have reasons or you have results. So what does that mean? That means that whenever you're not doing something, you might have valid reasons for not calling prospects. You might have valid reasons for not speaking publicly or for not showing up or for not posting on LinkedIn. And I know a lot of people in insurance that tell me, Joe, I can't promote myself. I might get in trouble with the industry. It needs to be approved content. I can't share anything at all. Like, really? Get the stuff approved and move on. Oh, I have reasons. I don't want to get sued. I don't want anyone to steal my children. Who wants your children? I don't even want mine. I love my children, but wanting to take care of children is hard. I'm going to want to take care of your kids. Nobody wants to steal your kids, okay? Maybe in certain countries, when people can sell them and stuff, but no, they have to feed the kids. They have to deal with their emotional stuff. So people have all these irrational fears in business, and often it's because of the excuses that we make. It's because of underlying fear. And what our brain is really smart, and it blocks us from seeing the fear, because once you see the fear, it disappears. Once you know that it's an irrational fear, Fear stands for false evidence that appears real. So it actually appears real to us. Like I was really, like through my divorce, I was really afraid of dying. I really thought that everything was going to be taken from me and I was going to die. And like that fear put me in like a certain paralysis mode. This happens to people in all aspects of their life and they end up not taking action. And sometimes you need a good coach. I worked with some really great coaches to help me in my personal life and also in my business life. Sometimes it's about taking a course or reading a book or getting out of your comfort zone. And sometimes it's just about having courage to do it anyway, to be unreasonable. When you have reasons for not taking action, you can be unreasonable and take action anyway, even if it sounds crazy or doesn't make sense. And then you start getting crazy results. If you're willing to be unreasonable, if you're willing to be a little insane, sometimes things don't make sense. But I always say, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. It doesn't have to make sense emotionally. It has to make dollars. Dollars, I tell you.
And there's the bit of insane Joe was just talking about.
Exactly. So for me, it's about not being totally crazy, right? Not being like, oh, like totally crazy, but being polarizing enough that you're willing to drop a beat. Being polarizing enough that you're willing to make a joke. Being polarizing enough that you're willing to say something where you don't know how it's going to land and you don't know if it's going to be perfect, but it's not completely off the deep end. I'm not starting a new religion, Right, I'm not completely off the deep end. I'm not starting a cult or something.
I think it goes back to putting yourself out there and not always conforming and not always doing it the way everybody else does it. And, yes, I'm doing a lot of video. I'm posting a lot on YouTube, on my website, on LinkedIn. And it doesn't take a tremendous amount of courage to do that or a little bit of insanity, but it does take getting out of your comfort zone. And for me, that was a big step. And a buddy of mine who's very successful in social, in the insurance business, challenged me to start on a regular basis. And he said, if you can do a video every day, do it. If you can do it 3 times a week, do it. And you're going to see results. And we are seeing results. And it's just kind of an interesting sort of dynamic at my stage of, life and in the business life and in the business world. And, before COVID hit, I was getting people in my networking groups, kind of saying, hey, Mr. Hollywood, like they recognized that I was putting myself out there, which was very rewarding because, I'm not always 100%, out there as you are, Joe. But yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with your confidence and just recognizing that it's not always going to be perfect. You just have to keep trying and experimenting. And look, if you make a mistake along the way, it's not going to be fatal.
But that's how we learn.
Exactly.
We learn from experience. And so if you want to scale, you have to be okay to fail. You have to be okay to just try something and learn. There is no losing in life. This is my belief. It's not everybody's belief. There is no losing in life. There's either winning or learning. And if you can learn a lesson, if you can take away a nugget, if you can improve your process, then the failure was worth it. Because now you're learning. The reason why people are so hung up on failure is because sometimes they fail for no reason. But if you ask me, is there a purpose to life? What's the purpose of everything that happens? Is there a purpose? Sometimes you can't find the purpose and you have to create the purpose. Create the reasons in your life that are empowering reasons. Because we do things for reasons. We also stop doing things for reasons. So it is upon us to create empowering reasons that might not always make sense, to just take action. Just take one step. You putting out a video on YouTube, you never know who's going to see that video, that October in Cybersecurity Awareness Month, or that interview with Bill Minoff, or the interview with Carla Rojas, or with Mitch Brill, who happens to be a friend of mine. You never know who's going to be seeing, and also a vendor of mine and a client of mine. You never know who's going to see your stuff. So putting it out there is extremely important, and getting out there. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's a big inspiration of mine, He went from nothing and became #1 in bodybuilding. And then when he was done bodybuilding, he became the #1 actor. And when he finished acting, he became the #1 governor. He went from position to position, giving his all. And what he said is, you have to do your best. You have to have a vision, and you got to work hard. You got to work hard. You got to work hard, but you have to advertise. That's what he says. You have to advertise. That's literally what he says. You got to work hard, but you got to put yourself out there. And putting yourself out there takes a tremendous amount of courage, especially on LinkedIn. Because although you might say it's not a big deal to post something, for people who are not used to posting, it's a huge deal. For them, it's everything. I have a guy who represents the New York Yankees, and he's a client of ours. And he called me up and he said, Joe, I'm a professional speaker. I'm not afraid to put myself out there. I've been doing this my entire life. A real professional. And he said, Joe, this is my first time I posted on LinkedIn, and I was shaking before I hit the post button. He's like, dude, you have no idea. I was like, oh, I know. It is scary. But once you do it over and over and over, the fear kind of subsides, and you're just doing it. It's part of what you do. I used to be afraid of sending emails to people in my newsletter because I was afraid they would unsubscribe. Now I do a dance every time someone unsubscribes. I'm like, oh, look at that. Somebody read it and it triggered them in some which way or form. Ooh, I like that. I like it. I'm going to add a few more people to my list now. So, and that's it. I'm celebrating it. Celebrate your fears. The things that you used to be afraid are the things that were holding you back. And when you overcame them, that's when you started living. People want to be in their comfort zone. When you're in the casket, you'll be in your comfort zone. No one will judge you. I mean, some people will still judge you even after you're dead, but you won't even know. So it won't matter. Jerry Seinfeld says that most people would rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy at a funeral, because people are so afraid of public speaking and judgment. And you know what? If you're a player, you have two options in life. You could either be a fan in the stands and watching the players play the game and have opinions, right? Oh, I hate that player. You see the way he moves his butt? I hate it. Or you could be a player, and the players get trained not to care about the opinions of other people. They can't. Imagine you were trying to win over all your fans. You have 80,000 fans watching you play soccer or whatever you're playing there, and they're yelling at you, do it, don't do it, do it, don't do it, do it. And you, well, what? You just go for it. You're in the game. So if you're a player, you're taking action. The opinions of the fans don't matter. You're not in the stands. Now, you might be in the stands and then the opinions will matter, but get in the game, be a player in your own life. And then everyone else, their opinions don't matter because success to them is very different than success to you. Mm-hmm. If something makes you happy, do it. Even if other people judge you for it, be you. Be yourself.
Like you just said a few minutes ago, you had the hater who was giving you, bad comments on LinkedIn because you made a post that was personal. So what? Big deal. One hater out of 6 million posts you've made in the last 2 years. That's not a bad ratio.
Yeah, no, it's not a bad ratio. And the impact that I have on people is very, very deep. And so that's why I do it, because I'm making a difference for other people, but also because I'm expressing myself.
Right.
And I know that I'm adding value to myself. If I look at a post this way, I look at a post and I say, am I going to enjoy reading this? Am I going to get value from this when I come back to it in a few weeks and read it? And if the answer is no, I'm not posting it. If the answer is yes, then I'm basically posting for myself so I can entertain myself. Be entertaining and exciting to yourself, and you will be entertaining and exciting to people that are like you. And people that are like you and that trust you will also do business with you. I like you, Gordon. I like spending time with you. I like climbing with you. I like chilling with you. I like doing podcasts with you. I like catching up with you. And I love doing business with you. And you love doing business with me. And I love referring business to you. And you love referring business to me. And if you can have 150 people like that in your life, you will never have to wonder where your next client is coming from, especially if you stay top of mind using LinkedIn.
Yeah, great points. Joe, I want to be respectful of your time and as well as the listeners. Do you have any last kernels of knowledge you'd like to bestow on us before we wrap up?
Yes, I do. I'm going to leave you guys with this. You are not a human doing. So many of us are so focused on doing, running, going, that we forget to be. being has value. And I never knew this. I always thought that if you weren't making money, there was no value to life. But you can actually be with your thoughts, be with your feelings. You don't have to do anything about it. Just be with it. Notice it. If you could notice the blessings in your life, if you become aware of the gratitude, the joy, the things that are working, instead of always focusing on the things that aren't working, and instead just be with what is, you will notice gift that you've been ignoring. You will notice things that you didn't even realize that you could be grateful for, that you could appreciate. So be more. Make it your internal purpose to be. This is what my book, High Energy Purpose, is about. Make it your internal purpose to just notice, to become a little more aware, a little less stressed, and a little more blessed. Thank you so much for being in my life. My name is Joe Apfelbaum, and I approve this message.
Joe, that was beautiful, and I really appreciate you putting that out there. And I got to say, this is just one of many podcasts that we're going to do together. Sound like a deal?
Ah, so excited. We have so many things to talk about.
All right.
Yes, I'm excited. I can't wait to the next one.
That sounds great. Joe, thank you so much for joining us today. For everyone, my name is Gordon Coyle. I'm the host of the New York Business Leaders Podcast. If you have an interesting story, obviously not as interesting as Joe Apfelbaum's story, or the way he can tell a story, because he can rap it, please contact me. My email address will appear in the show notes and in the description box below. And I'd love to have a conversation with you and have you on the show. Until next time, everyone be well.
Thank you so much. Boom.
Boom.
That's it for this week's episode of the New York Business Leaders Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss next week's episode. In the meantime, find more interviews and resources at nybusinessleaders.com.